San Pedro is an authentic, working-class community built around the heaviest industry in the country. Processing over 10 million container units a year, it operates as the busiest gateway for goods in the Western Hemisphere. But the front door of Los Angeles is currently undergoing a multi-billion-dollar facelift that looks to swap that industrial grit for high-end polish. The $500 million West Harbor project is replacing the quirky wood-planked Port SoCal village with 42 acres of steel-framed retail, Michelin-recognized dining, and a 6,200-seat amphitheater. Developers promise a world-class economic hub, but the community is apprehensive. Between the glass and metal pavilions and the high-end tenants, many residents feel the design reflects a generic Seattle fish market rather than the specific culture of San Pedro. This creates a direct threat to the town's identity. If the local culture isn't integrated into the new waterfront, San Pedro risks becoming a quiet, manicured backdrop for tourists, rather than a participant in its own economic growth. This transformation is being accelerated by a series of firm international deadlines that are forcing a decade of change into just a few years. This timeline tracks the projected economic impact on Los Angeles County. Here in 2026, we see a vertical spike, a $1.1 billion surge in spending driven by the FIFA World Cup, which will bring official fan zones and international media directly to the harbor. 2 years later, a second spike hits. The 2028 Los Angeles Olympics will hold the sailing, windsurfing, and kiteboarding competitions right off the San Pedro coast. This returns the neighborhood to the global stage for the first time since the 1932 Games, when the Outer Harbor hosted the world's best sailors. The stakes are locked into the calendar. If the local community hasn't built the infrastructure to project its own voice before the world arrives in 2026 and 2028, the narrative of their town will be defined entirely by the global media and the developers who built the promenades. While the port focuses on sprawling mega-developments on the water, a different kind of restoration is happening a few blocks inland, at 363 West 6th Street. This 1922 property was acquired in a state of physical trauma. The interior was scarred by decades of neglect, including 17 separate leaks that left the original timber ceiling rotting and water pooling on the dance floors. The owners, therapist Donna Wolf and her partner Edwin, decided to approach the restoration like a clinical session. They viewed the building as a patient that needed to be heard, rather than a site to be cleared and rebuilt. They chose to keep the physical history of the building on display. They refused to cover the scarred brick with drywall and kept the marks on the wooden floors, ensuring the grit of the original 1920s architecture remained the primary visual character of the space. This intentional preservation of the physical wounds ensures that as the neighborhood modernizes, the historical reality of the working-class community isn't erased. It provides a permanent physical anchor for the stories that have already been told within these walls. The basement of this building is being wired to serve as the project's technological core, Voxel Micro Video Labs. The name is a reclamation. Decades ago, Donna's father, Allan, launched a medical imaging venture called Voxel. He poured his technical expertise into the project, but the business ultimately failed. By putting the name back on the door, the owners are treating that previous failure as a rough draft. It's a practical commitment to the idea that a local dream doesn't have to disappear just because its first iteration didn't find a market. The lab is being outfitted as a high-tech podcast and video incubator. It is designed to take local residents who have stories to tell and who are usually overlooked by big media and put a world-class microphone in front of them. Voxel acts as the digital counterweight to the gentrification happening at the harbor. While the port builds spaces for tourists to consume, this basement provides the tools for locals to create and broadcast their own culture. These parallel timelines collide in the summer of 2026, when both the waterfront promenades and the downtown basement go live. At the harbor, West Harbor will open its trails and restaurants to World Cup fans. Simultaneously, the final construction dust will be cleared from the recording booths at Voxel. As the streets above fill with millions of visitors, the on-air lights in the soundproofed studios will flick on against the raw brick. Instead of selling the naming rights to corporate sponsors, the owners have secretly named the studios after their nieces and nephews. It's a move that anchors the future of the technology in the reality of the local families. This establishes the two essential components needed to survive a period of intense redevelopment: physical walls that refuse to forget the past, and a microphone capable of reaching the future. By 2028, an intense global focus will settle on the San Pedro harbor. As the Olympic fleet takes to the water, the multi-billion-dollar transformation of the waterfront will be complete. At this same moment, Voxel's first wave of storytellers will be fully operational. The content blueprint will have moved from a construction plan to a daily broadcast. These hyper-local stories are recorded with the intent to cross oceans. They are designed to reach the same international audiences that are traveling to the harbor to watch the games. While the massive cranes of the port handle 10 million containers, the recording booths downtown are processing the neighborhood's voice. Both realities will exist simultaneously: the industrial powerhouse on the docks and the cultural incubator in the brick basement. Cultural survival in the face of these events depends on the community's ability to speak for itself. By building the infrastructure to broadcast, San Pedro ensures that its own people will be heard long after the Olympic sails leave the harbor.